What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet, and I'm about to talk about a topic that's fairly controversial. And that topic is gender in gaming. And this doesn't make any sense to me, by the way, because this should not be controversial. This should just be a matter of basic common sense and decency. But for whatever reason, whenever I do talk about this topic, people on either side of this thing tend to dogpile on me, and it's really, really scary. And it makes it very, very difficult for me to talk about, but I'm kind of done with being afraid. So go ahead and preemptively dogpile me on Twitter, say what you will about me on your subreddits, I don't really care anymore. Now recently I attended Vidcon 2015, and if you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically a giant YouTube conference where the creators and the fans and the YouTube conference industry people all kind of meet up. It's put together by John Green and Hank Green and a bunch of other very talented people, and it's really awesome if you're involved in any way in YouTube. Now I've only ever been to 2 out of 6 VidCons, but I did notice that there was a lot of big differences that are relevant to this discussion that were different from last year. The first big difference that I noticed was the diversity in the attendees this year. Now, if you don't know, this VidCon has this almost negative reputation for appealing to teenage girls, and that's certainly not true. The 2 years that I've been there have definitely been older men and women, and of course men of all types that were there. I did notice an incredible amount of diversity this year. People of every race, every color, every gender, every sexualization, every possible type of person was represented there, either on the industry floor, the creator track, or of course the community track. As a side note to that, by the way, I want to add that last year I probably met 250 people that recognized me at VidCon, as well as about 100 in my signing line, and I thought that was great, but most of the people that recognized me, 70 or 80%, were male. This year, I signed twice as much stuff, met twice as many people, took twice as many selfies, and I would say at least 50% of the people that recognized me, stopped to speak with me, were females and were interested in gaming, and I think that just goes to show you how our hobby is changing for the better. The second big difference is how gaming was treated at VidCon overall by Hank and his team. Now last year when I was on a panel at VidCon about gaming, one of the only panels about gaming at VidCon, it was me and 4 other dudes. This year there were several different gaming related panels and different gaming related experiences for the audience, and the majority of these did in fact have a pretty even split between men and women, and I think that's an important thing to do. Some of the more cynical people out there will be saying, well, they did this to try to score points with the feminist agenda or something along that lines, but the reality is, as more women join our hobby, more female creators are rising to the top, and these women are commanding millions of views with millions of subscribers, and it would actually be stupid to not represent these powerful women at VidCon. Now, one of the panels that I watched was called Gender in Gaming, and yes, that's the entire point of the video. I'm sorry it took me 3 minutes of build-up to finally get to it. And this panel was the most open-minded, level-headed, common-sense conversation about this topic that I have ever witnessed, and I thought it was fantastic. Now, represented on this panel was Felicia Day, who's a notable gamer and a geek cultural advocate. There was LD Shadow Lady Lizzie. She commands millions of views here on YouTube with millions of subscribers, and she's a lot of fun to watch. And there was Aurelian, who is the community manager for Twitch TV. Now, the cynics among you will note that that is an all-female cast, and male is a gender, and in fact, one of the panelists on stage actually realized that and addressed it, and was Felicia Day. She said that it's not fair that there wasn't a man up here to represent that portion of gender in gaming, and I liked that so much I wanted to stand up and applaud, but I didn't want to look like some sort of asshole. Of particular note, as I scanned around the room to see what the audience looked like, it was a pretty much even split between male and female viewers, and I thought that was kind of cool as well. My favorite part about the panel was that it was very level-headed. There was no naming and shaming, there was no name-calling, there was no making fun of anyone. There was just talking about the issues that women face in gaming and making them relatable to the men and other people in the audience, and I thought that is the way that we finally have this discussion. Prejudices of all type in gaming were discussed, whether a race, sexuality, sexual orientation, gender identification, whether whether it was being male or female, whether it was your age, all of this was discussed and approached in an empathic, kind way, and I think we made a lot of progress for the 500 or so people that got to see it. For example, one of the relatable things that was mentioned on stage was by Lizzie, LD Shadow Lady, and she said that a lot of older YouTubers like me are afraid to use Facecam when they create content for YouTube or for Twitch because that can create a disconnect between their audience, the same way that being female can create a disconnect from some parts of YouTube's audience as well. And that's something that instantly clicked. Aurelian mentioned that all Twitch streamers deal with a certain amount of hatred in their chat, but when a woman streams, a lot of that hatred can focus on just that one aspect of who and what they are, being a woman. And as a Twitch streamer, of course I can connect with that, because all of the hatred I get in my Twitch chat focuses on one thing, about how fat I am, and it dehumanizes you and makes you feel really shitty. And I've always argued that this common sense approach is the way that we win this argument. Not by calling each other names, not by yelling at each other, but finding a middle ground and approaching it with common sense by evoking empathy and sympathy on either side of this thing. That's how we settle it. The most relatable and I think incredible thing that was said at this panel was during the Q&A section when a young girl of about the age of 12 asked the panel a simple question. "I like to play all kinds of video games," she said, "but sometimes when I go to school and I tell people the games that I play, they'll tell me you shouldn't be playing those types of games because you're a girl. So what do I say to those people to make them leave me alone and let me play my games?" Felicia Day said that she had to be brave. She said right now that there are some people out there who are confused and think that women shouldn't play certain types of games or maybe shouldn't be playing games at all. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, but she said that the people that have a problem with you playing those types of games, they are the ones with the problem. She said when you react hurt or angry because of those comments, they think they're right. But when you shrug it off like, what's the problem? It's perfectly normal for me to play those types of games. You're the one with the problem. Eventually, they will realize they are wrong, and they will leave you and other girls who come up behind you alone. And I can relate to that because when I grew up, I got beat up for liking Atari and for liking Nintendo, and the bullies would come and mess with me when I was playing video games at the arcade or at the local grocery store, and I know what it's like to feel like it's not okay that you like games. Because I really feel 40 years ago, I helped pioneer our hobby, and I took those arrows so that you wouldn't have to, so that you could talk about gaming in public and be a proud gamer and love our hobby so very, very much and be open about it, to call yourself a player or a gamer or whatever you want to call yourself. And I hate to know that that 12-year-old girl is going through what I went through so long ago. A lot of people don't know what to make of me because I'm a moderate when it comes to this conversation. I can't join the extremes on either side, but the reality is I like to live right here in the middle where it just feels like common sense. So many of us gamers don't really care about the politics, and when we hear people screaming loudly, we cover our ears and don't listen. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this panel, because I thought it was brilliant. I thought this is the way that you get this done quickly. I think that this is how you do what it took my generation 20 years to do in just a couple. You approach it with common decency and kindness and love and open arms, and you evoke sympathy and empathy, and you influence the hearts of moderates. And when you do, you win. But then again, what do I know? I'm just some white cis male gamer mansplaining the world away, I guess. I don't know why I'm making this video. Hopefully to help, and hopefully no harm will come from it. It's not like I can get banned from NeoGAF twice, right? Alright guys, I love you very much. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak with you again soon.